Hello and welcome. Now I'm quite excited to drive because this is my first ever Mini. Now I love what Mini stood for. They're small, they're powerful, and they are a hoot to drive. Now I can't wait to get behind the wheel of... That's not what I was expecting. Is that really a Mini? I mean, look at the size of it. That can't be a Mini, is it? Turns out it is a Mini, the all-new MINI Countryman. Now in its third generation, the Mini for the family has grown longer, wider and taller than ever before. Priced at around 200,000 dirham mark, the new Countryman competes in the heavily crowded crossover segment, rivaling the likes of the BMW X1 or the Audi Q2. And to make the Countryman stand out from its competition, MINI has completely revamped the entire car. Right from the exterior looks, which are all new, it gets straighter, less busier lines. The shapes are well defined. The bonnet is now much smaller. The bumpers on the front and the back now sit flush within the body instead of jutting out in the previous generation. To keep the profile much cleaner, there isn't much badging around the car. So the only way you can differentiate between which trim level you have is with this distinctive C-pillar design element. The fancier the C-pillar design element is, the more equipped your car is. For instance, we have this all-4, that means the all-wheel drive variant, and this mountainous graphic that replicates or rather showcases the adventurous ambitions of the new MINI Countryman. Now, depending on the trim level you select, you get a different choice of exterior color options. But because this is a Mini and they want your Countryman to be as unique as possible, you even get a choice for roof colors, wheel designs and interior upholstery colors. But you'll argue other car makers also offer that kind of personalization, and that's true. But where MINI goes one step beyond in customization is letting you choose different variations for the headlight and the tail light design. So right now, in the new Countryman, you don't really have to carry the Union Jack mimicked on the taillight design. I'm not sure if that decision was taken right after MINI announced that the Countryman will be the first MINI to be built in Germany. On the inside, things get a lot funkier and sustainable. The steering wheel is all new and gets a strap instead of a third spoke. The speedometer cluster gets replaced by a pop-up heads-up display. There are light projections across the dashboard which change color as per 8 experience modes. Everything in the car now gets controlled via the new OLED circular screen, another world first, which also features MINI's first ever voice assistant, a puppy named Spike that always seems to be in a happy mode. Now, I may know why Spike has this happy puppy attitude, probably because the entire interior upholstery on the MINI Countryman is 100% leather free, which means all his friends are alive and, well, happy somewhere. But coming back to the sustainability bits, this entire upholstery is not made from leather but from resin, a type of synthetic leather. The headliners and the floor mats are supposed to be made out of recycled PET bottles, and this funky looking door trim and dashboard material knitted trim that you see all across the width of the cabin, now that is supposed to be made out of recycled polyester. Now, not everyone may like what they've done with this knitted material across the dashboard and the door trims, but I appreciate and genuinely like the effort being put behind to make this cabin stand out and funky. And there's more funky bits, such as instead of a usual start-stop button, they've actually put a turnkey module to start your engine, just like they had in the 1960s Mini. And then there is this copperized air con vents and these funky little copperized door handles. And even the key looks like a dark chocolate mini bar for some reason. And the other funky bit is this compartment box in the middle of the center console. Now, it's not really big enough to put your phone inside because that phone goes here in the wireless charger section, but it's big enough for something, what's the word? That. Now, the rear bench gets its 2 sets of Type-C USB ports, so the children can stay glued to their phones, and if the married couple up front have friends that are about 6 feet tall. They won't really fight for the front seat because the rear seats are adjustable, and the new Countryman is very spacious. You buy a Mini because it's unique and you want to stand out and be the funkier cousin in your family. But more importantly, you buy a Mini because it rides and drives really well. Now, does the new Mini Countryman do that? Let me put it this way. There are certain things that it does really well. For instance, it rides very comfortably. And because this new Mini gets wider tires at the back, so it stays more planted on highway speeds. And the suspension takes these bumps and road undulations really well. So the family at the back would be pretty pleased with how the ride quality of this Mini Countryman is. See what I mean? And then the steering. It's pretty light and pretty easy to use. And the turning circle is just superb for a car of this size and length. And it gets augmented reality navigation. So you have to be an absolute idiot to miss any turns. Shit, I forgot to take this turn. And because this is the new Mini Countryman, it is also the first Mini to get level 2 ADAS systems, which basically means that the car can drive itself within city limits, provided you keep your hands on the wheel at all times and stay alerted. With the new Mini Countryman, this entire toggle panel on the center console is also new, and with that you get experience modes, which is basically Mini language for drive modes. You get 8 of these, from which the more important ones are core, that basically dulls down your throttle response and firms up the brakes for stop-start city traffic driving. And then there's green mode for when you want to drive economically, and it shows you how much extra range you've accumulated by being a flappy bird and not being a prancing cheetah. Then you get the balance mode, which basically turns on the seat massagers to make sure you have a very relaxing drive. But from all these, my favorite has to be the go-kart mode, which turns all the projection lights to red, and a man screams at you to hype you up. The car turns in really well, not supercar darting quick, but quick enough for city overtakes. But even in this setting, the 218 horsepower 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo engine kind of feels it could have done with a bit more power. Now, the DCT gearbox tries really hard to compensate by giving you those gears much earlier during overtakes and keeping you on those gears for much longer. But then that initial turbo lag kind of just spoils the fun a little. Now, if you're in the power band, the engine is quite responsive, but once you're beyond that, that is when you feel this engine could have done with a bit more poke. And no presence of paddle shifters or any manual gearbox control means there's less driver engagement, which kind of takes away from the fun even further. But good news for the enthusiasts, because the Mini Countryman can also be had in a 300 horsepower John Cooper Works trim. And with that car, I think that issue of a little more poke can be resolved. Because this car, the Countryman S, takes about 6 seconds to do the 0 to 100 sprint. John Cooper Works trim does that in just over 5 seconds. And in no means is the Countryman S any slouch in terms of acceleration, but you're just left wanting for a bit more poke at the higher end of the rev band. Now, if I were to nitpick even further, I'm not a big fan of the laggy response of this infotainment system. Now, don't get me wrong, the display, the graphics, the colors are really sharp and vivid. And just because of how it looks, you really want to use this in-house infotainment system just because of the sharpness of the clarity and of the display. That laggy response time kinds of takes away from this entire experience. I'm guessing Mini can fix this over an over-the-air software update, and when it does, it easily becomes one of the coolest and funkiest infotainment systems out there in the market. So, to answer my final question, who is the Mini Countryman really for? The new Mini Countryman is for the people who like something trendy, something youthful, something vibrant, something that helps them stand out. They don't want something bland and vanilla like the rest of the population does. It's also for the kind of people who are very vocal about being non-violent to the environment, hence all the sustainability aspects of the interior. And for those wanting for a bit more power, they can opt for the 300 horsepower John Cooper Works trim or the new all-electric MINI Countryman. Thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed our review on the new MINI Countryman S. Do share this video for people who are out in the market to buy a premium car, and keep following, like, share, subscribe to our videos so that we can bring you such cool, interesting cars such as this. Thank you.